The answers we sought are wrapped in painful truths, and the painful truths haven't even begun yet. Spoilers for the new episode of From, what a strange trip it's been. So if you haven't seen it, or if you're currently watching From now, go ahead and skedoodle because there will be spoilers and I need to talk about it. The episode opens up on Donna, Ellis, Ethan, Tabitha, and two other residents whose names are Patty and Roger. We're just gonna call this group the settlement group. We see the settlement group staring out into the middle of the lake where the three figures rose up in the water at the end of the last episode. The settlement group debates with each other about whether or not they should pull the three figures in, which ultimately they do end up deciding to. Ethan digs up a little grave with Tabitha, and he tells Tabitha how he really wishes that this was the Lake of Tears. Jade is standing at the window inside of the sheriff's station, staring at a giant sign outside that says answers and then has a giant arrow pointing to a direction. But then he ends up seeing a whole bunch of spiders. Yes, the same spiders from the season 1 finale, the ones that bit Boyd and had Abby all spun up in the webs. Boyd is able to calm him down from seeing the spiders, and they decide that they're gonna follow the sign to the answers. But before leaving, they establish that their safe word is gonna be Capricorn. I feel like there's a deeper meaning there, so if you think you have an idea of what that deeper meaning is, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Christy and Marielle work on resetting Sophia's broken arm, and while Christy has Sophia's hand about to reset the bone, Marielle is holding onto Sophia's arm. Now that's important because right after they reset Sophia's arm and Marielle goes out to the ambulance, she ends up seeing herself get shackled to the inside of the ambulance and then hearing a whole bunch of screams play off on the radio. Also before this, she sees Randall and Julie approaching and she tells Julie that she enjoys her haircut, but we all know that's a lie. This is the second time an atrocious haircut has happened in this town. The settlement group ends up pulling in the three figures from the middle of the lake and uncover all of the grass off of it, finding three really large like scarecrow dolls. Donna ends up cutting one open and finding a whole bunch of stuffing inside, and Donna says that she can only think of one thing that people would put stuffing inside of and leave out in the middle of an open field or body of water. To which Ethan says scarecrow. So Donna theorizes that the scarecrow dolls were keeping something at bay inside of the lake. Jade and Boyd are wandering through the woods trying to seek out answers, and Jade realizes that he needs to ask for information, and he shouts out that he wants to see what he once used to know. He ends up hearing music, and when he follows it, he finds a younger version of himself playing a violin, to which he remembers that that was him on the day that his grandma died. And if you remember, he was incredibly close with his grandma as a child. But then Jade gets angry at being shown this, and instead he yells out at the forest that that isn't what he wanted. He wants to know why they're stuck there. And then he sees the younger version of himself with the violin, as well as the guy with the nail in his eye from the end of season 3. And he's holding a skull that's full of blood. And Jade tells Boyd what's going on, and Boyd tells Jade to just drink the blood because it's not real anyways. And after young Jade tells Jade not to drink it, Jade still proceeds to drink it after Boyd tells him again that it's not real anyways, just drink it. But then when he gets to the bottom of the skull, he sees a whole bunch of spiders on the inside of it, which I think is the answer to his question of why they're stuck there, the spiders. And young Jade gets upset and he tells Jade that he doesn't get to pick and choose his memories, and that now he's gonna see things that he doesn't want to see. Kenny visits Fatima while she's making her clay golem, and he apologizes because he never actually was listening to what she was saying, he was just reacting. And he tells her that they're only strongest when they back each other up, and that is not what he was doing. And so he apologizes to her for that. But then he also asks her what it's like to still feel Smiley in the way that she does. To which she tells him that she's terrified, and she's afraid that when she looks out of the window one of these nights, she's gonna see Smiley sitting there looking at her. Kenny offers his help if she ever needs it, and as he's leaving, he ends up finding Henry sneaking around with a bottle from the bar. Christy limps out to the ambulance trying to call out to Marielle, saying that she'd been out there for a while, and when she opens the back door, she finds Marielle inside, clearly going through something. But Marielle refuses to communicate with Christy, which ends up causing some tension and then boils up into an argument between them. The group at the settlement ends up stuffing rocks into the scarecrow dolls, and as Tabitha is doing that, she gets flashes of memories of playing with these small dolls. She ends up telling Donna that she remembers those giant dolls somehow, but she can't quite place her finger on it. The settlement group ends up finishing stuffing the dolls with rock and ends up pushing them back out into the middle of the lake again. Jade and Boyd are still following young Jade through the forest when they actually end up at Colony House, and they find young Jade playing the violin again. But as Jade approaches young Jade stops playing, and Jade still hears the tune behind him, to which he turns around and sees all of the people that he's hallucinated, aside from Barkeep Tom, who is not a reincarnation of Jade, which is why he didn't see him here. And they were all playing the same violin that the young Jade was playing, and they were playing the same song. I couldn't help but to giggle at the guy stuck under the rock and how his violin was just sitting on the rock instead. Loved it. Young Jade ends up telling Jade that the answers that he seeks are wrapped in painful truths. Henry ends up getting a little swifty with the alcohol, and when Victor tries to talk to him, Henry demands Victor tell him what he does for fun, to which Henry then goes through the house, causing a little bit of a ruckus, trying to find something fun to do before settling at the organ in the main room, to where he plays a small little ballad, which I think is his and Miranda's song. It was at least a song that was special to him and Miranda, which is why he was getting so emotional throughout playing it. He reminisces about how him and Victor used to sit at the piano when Victor was younger and play the notes, and how beautiful Miranda's singing voice was. And then Henry gets upset, and then he starts getting a little angry, and then he wants Victor to show everyone the drawing and showing what the man in yellow did to his wife. But Kenny and Victor end up taking Henry up to his room. Tabitha stares super intently at this totem while Donna is stoking a fire, and Ethan goes up to her and tells her how he really only feels safe when she's around, which throws up huge red flags for Donna's future. Sophia grabs some fabric from a closet and overhears Julie and Randall arguing with each other, and when she peeks in and sees the two of them bickering, she gets this evil, sinister looking smirk on her face, like everything is going exactly to plan. And then Sophia goes upstairs and then overhears Marielle and Christy arguing, and right as Marielle walks out of the room, Sophia also walks into the same hallway, bumping into Marielle, grabbing her arm. And that's important because seconds after, Marielle starts hallucinating again, imagining that she's being chained to the wall and that she is hearing the screams again. And as Christy tries to console and reassure a traumatized Marielle, Sophia's right there with that sinister smile. Jade watches the four people, really it's only three, play the violin when he pieces together and realizes that they're all him from past lives. But young Jade says that it's just some of his many lives. Jade then realizes that none of his past selves were ever ripped apart, meaning they never died to the monsters. And young Jade in French tells Jade that the minnows in the shark's net are the cause of their murder, to which Jade pieces together that the minnows in the shark net are really the townspeople also stuck in the town. The townspeople turn against Jade in all of his lives and end up killing him. They find out that it's Jade and Tabitha that are being called by the children, and then they blame Jade, and then they end up hating him, eventually leading to killing him. Kenny and Victor take Henry up to his room and lay him on his bed, to where then Victor finally tells Kenny what Henry was talking about, and Kenny learns the truth about the man in yellow and what he does. Young Jade ends up leading Jade and Boyd down into the Colony House storage room and shows them a door that's hidden behind a wall of stuff. Christy, Marielle, and Sophia are all sitting in the clinic, and Marielle's telling them what happened. And she's telling them how in the ambulance on the radio she heard the screams of everyone who's ever died in the town. To which then Sophia says that she is a prophet chosen by God to hear the suffering of the people. Marielle gets upset and she tells Christy and Sophia that there is something old in that town, something ancient that feeds off of the suffering of the people who live and have died there, and that even after they die, they don't get to leave. The settlement group is in one of the cabins after nightfall, and Ethan's starting to fall asleep, and the whole group kind of talks about how Ethan's grown up and how curious he is now, although Roger and Patty are still a little unsettled after seeing the three floating dolls that they ended up pushing back out into the lake. Donna's trying to reassure everyone, but then they all end up hearing this dark, eerie, creepy voice start to sing a song, to which then triggers some memories in Tabitha's head about how in one of her past lives when she was young, she would play with these three dolls, and a man became angry because he was having nightmares about the dolls, so he took them and threw them out into the middle of the lake. And then one day he died, and his nightmares came out of the lake, proving that when people die in this place, their nightmares become real. Tabitha tries to get everyone to leave, but before they're able to, one of the scarecrow dolls busts down the door and attacks Roger. While everyone escapes, Ellis tries to help Roger but he gets knocked back and is unable to help, so he also runs as well. The scarecrow monster puts its mitt inside of Roger's mouth, rips his jaw down, and then shoves his mitt further down into his throat, which makes me wonder, what are they grabbing out of his body? Patty ends up running off and splitting up from the group and tries to hide in some bushes, where she gets snuck up on by another one of the scarecrow dolls. She gets grabbed by the doll and dragged over to the fire that was still kind of smoldering from earlier, and the scarecrow doll shoves Patty's face into the burning coal. Ellis comes in and is able to save her by pushing the scarecrow doll into the fire, igniting it, and saving Patty, pulling her away. Donna is trying to reassure both Tabitha and Ethan, but she also gets snuck up on, and another scarecrow doll is just about to choke her to death before Tabitha takes one of the totems and stabs the creature with it, then claiming that she knows how to kill them. Whether she means the scarecrow dolls or the monsters, I don't know. Jade ends up opening the door in the colony house storage room, to which he finds a really long, dark hallway that has lamps lighting it up. As he goes down the tunnel, he notices these giant spiders and the spider webs around the lights. The same kind of spider that he saw earlier in the trip, and the same spiders that we saw in season 1. Jade follows the tunnel until the tunnel ends up turning into the underground tunnels that Victor and Tabitha explored at the beginning of season 2. Jade gets lost, but Boyd is able to find him, to which Boyd uses the safe word, telling Jade they need to get the heck out of there. But before Jade's able to follow Boyd out, he sees young Jade and follows young Jade into the sacrificial room where the children were sacrificed. Jade asks how to save the children, and right after he asks how to save the children, he's surrounded by the monsters, to which they grab him and drag him and push him down into the grave that's in the center of the sacrificial room. And as they close the lid, Jade sees one of the children in the grave with him, and the child ends up saying "on Kui," leaving Jade to just scream as the monsters close the lid on the grave. Jade is screaming, and he comes to and finds himself back in the sheriff's station. The sun has fallen and it is now nighttime, and Boyd comes out to reassure him, and Jade is confused as to how they even ended up back in the sheriff's station, to which Boyd tells him that they never left. Jade just stared out the window, and then he sat down, and then that was it. Jade ends up telling Boyd that he knows where they are. Who they are? I don't know. The children? Maybe. Jade also tells Boyd that he knows what they need to do in order to go home. He knows how to save the children. That was a wild episode. From learning the town has killed Jade in all of his past lives, to having the theory confirmed that when people die in the town, their nightmares become part of the forest. What was your favorite thing that we learned from both Jade's trip and from the settlement group? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let me know.